Hey, 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 lovelies. It is me, Chris Rivers, aka the Poe Engineer, and I am back with another new episode of The Poe on the Call. Thank y'all so much for checking in, listening, or watching wherever you are. I am excited to be here for another episode. And this week's topic is a good one. It is toxic studio and studio owner traits that you have experienced, and y'all went ham and y'all went in on this one. Let me tell you, when I asked on Instagram stories what y'all thought, and you did not hold back, and I appreciate that. That made this so much easier, and I can't wait to do more like that because, like I said in an earlier episode of what to expect, I want to work on more engagement with y'all, and you did not disappoint. So, let us continue. One of the things that is happening is when studios or studio owners run a bunch of intro 4 week courses or mini series courses on different topics to bring in more students and gather more students, but you don't but after those series are done, you don't focus on the students who have been there who want to work on intermediate or advanced skills. Now, this is not cool. I'm sorry to say, I while I understand why you do these 4 week series, it helps make more money, helps people be consistent. If they sign up for a 4 week series, they're more likely to stay with it and say, "Yes, I'm coming. I signed up. I paid this money, etc." However, you don't want to forget those students who have been there, who need to grow, who want to grow, the artists who want to work on those intermediate and advanced skills. Either find a way to add a 4 week course for them or find ways to add classes for them. We do not want to leave them in the dust. We do not want to hinder or prevent them from growing. So it's tough because while I understand why studios do it, it can limit it can be limiting to students unintentionally. So I hope the studios and studio owners are not doing that intentionally so that students don't grow. Maybe you just don't realize you're doing it, and maybe you don't realize that's happening. If this is happening to you, I advise you to talk to the studio owners. Maybe if you don't feel comfortable talking to them, talk to an instructor that you do trust so they can pass it to the studio owner. And if nothing is still done about it, maybe it's time to start looking into another studio or create your own studio. Or if you like, you can take advanced and intermediate classes online with me, and I will get you there, boo boo, because that is my shit. I love teaching the intermediate and advanced, and I love seeing people do stuff that I can't do and probably never will do. That is why I became an instructor, to help dancers be better than me, not make the same mistakes I made in my 10 years, and etc. All right, so let's move on. Another thing that people are seeing out there are cliques forming with certain instructors and students, which are isolating for students that are not in the clique. This is awful to read. It makes it feel like high school, but I definitely understand this. First, I want to apologize if I've ever made anyone feel like this. I do not mean to. It was not intentional. This is hard because we all have students that we know that have been there for years, and you try not to do favoritisms at all. I know for me personally, I try to make the environment welcoming for everyone, even if I don't know you. Maybe I fall short, and that is unintentional. But I have seen instructors who do it intentionally. They have their students that they like and that they want, and that are there all the time, and it could be difficult for other students who are coming in to take that class and kind of feel like they fit in or feel welcome because they see the clicky environment. And instructors might not be doing this on purpose, but there are a couple of you who are doing it on purpose. um, so let's try to change this. We always want to make it feel welcoming. Yes, it's good. It's okay to have your friends and your favorite dancers, but don't. This is a job. You are teaching. Don't hinder someone else's education or experience because you want to do favorites. Um, it is different from when you it is different as an instructor if you have an advanced student and you know that they'll be able to demo it and you use them as a demo so you can explain. That is different. That is saving your energy. That is smart teaching. That is not trying to do favorites. That is trying to teach in a different way, a visual way and an audio way, so they can see what's going on while you explain and point. And a lot of students of mine like that way. better than me just demoing and explaining as I demo. And it saves me energy. It is not me doing favorites. It is just me taking the students that I know can do certain things, saving my energy, and teaching in that manner. If I have made you feel clicky in that way, I truly apologize. It was never intentional. So if you do have clicks, let's try to work on that. Let's make sure everyone feels welcome into the class just for that hour. And if they don't come back, that's okay. But at least they won't come back saying, I didn't feel welcome. I felt it was clicky like high school, things like that. That's okay. All right, let's move on. Are we ready? We're going into not acknowledging the stripper or sex work roots for pole dance. Yes, and I know this happens quite often, unfortunately, because for quite a few years, there was a period of, how do you say, education. Many pole fitness studios, pole dance studios wanted to separate themselves from that stripper sex work route so they can get students in, because it's one of the stereotypes about pole dancing, or when people start pole dancing, oh, you want to be a stripper, oh, this, that, and the other, because they don't understand that it's a way of fitness, it's a way to not only improve your fitness but self-esteem, help yourself feel sexier, and just be free and fly on a beautiful metal apparatus. um, but now that those years have passed and now that pole fitness is growing, we need to go back and remember our stripper and sex working roots, because there is a history of pole dance before it even became pole fitness, and we need to recognize that so we don't forget where we came from and where we are trying to go. If you want to know more about the pole history or history of pole dance, you can check out an earlier episode from, maybe I think it was season 1 or season 2, where we go into that. We talk about Malakam, which is an Indian pole dancing, which is fucking hard as fuck but also beautiful to watch, and then Chinese pole, and we also talk about stripping and etc. So if you're a studio who's still focusing on the fitness aspect, while I understand, it may be time to kind of branch out. You're not only losing money from not branching out, but and excluding these type of dancers, but you are adding to the stereotypes of pole dancing and things like that, because you're not teaching them the history and the roots and showing them, yes, this is where we came from, this is where we are, there's nothing wrong with where we came from. If you like that style of dance, go for it. It's not all about fitness. Many people do not get into this because of fitness, and then many people do. And there's so many discussions about this. I've seen twerk arguments about people teaching twerk but not sharing the history, which I know is important. I wanted to do twerk, and I reached out to people who are twerk certified and who have the background in that culture. What can I do as a light-skinned Puerto Rican gay man who wants to teach twerk but don't want to step on any toes? And I was told, you could teach twerk, you could probably be a better twerker than anyone, but don't forget to teach the roots of where twerking came from, the black culture and the dance culture that it originated from. We don't want to say, oh, this is me, this is my culture, this and that. No, you want to teach the subject, but also teach the history of it so people know where it is from and grow that respect for it. Alrighty, so let us move on. Another thing that is happening out there with toxic studios and studio owners, unfortunately, is not having clear policies or guidelines, or for some reason having different rules for different people. This is rough because Mindy Mac at Pole in the Wall over the years has learned a lot about policies and guidelines and adding things that make sure they protect us, the students, and the studio. And sometimes we have missed things, and that was because we had to learn about it, and she jumped on it real quick. So I thank her for that. She took it as a learning experience and as a growing experience, and she made those policies and guidelines that people were like, well, where is this? There's also the problem that now we have these policies and guidelines, but none of y'all take the time to read it. Let me not say none of y'all. Some of you beautiful dancers do not take the time to read these policies and guidelines. And instead of going to look for the policies or guidelines, you quickly email the studio owner and say this, that, and the other. And some of you, most of you are pretty okay when the email when the instruct or the owner writes back and says, "Well, these are our policies here. Read them here. This, that, and the other." Most of you are like, "Well, couldn't see that. I couldn't find that. I couldn't read it. Now what are we gonna do? I want my money back." Things like that. So it's tough. Even if you do make these policies or guidelines, some dancers won't read them. They will bypass them. um, but the different rules for different people. This just should not be happening, and unfortunately, it does happen. And this probably goes along with the clicks and having favorites and things like that. Some of these could be, allowing people to come the 10 minute. Some people come the 10 minutes late, even though they're not supposed to. But then you don't let other people come the 10 minutes late. That's an example. Another example is telling maybe a big and beautiful dancer they can't wear certain underwear or bras because certain body parts are showing. That's bullshit. That's discrimination against body types, and that should not be done. You should not have different rules based on people's different body types and what they can wear. It should be consistent throughout the whole playing field. I've seen that happen, unfortunately. um there's a lot of things that go on out there, but many instructors and studio owners, I want to say, are learning from it. They might be taking their time, but they are learning from it. And of course, there are those who are not, and who are not adding these policies or who are not following them for everyone. As a dancer, if you feel comfortable, talk to your studio owner about this. And if not, if you don't feel safe talking to your studio owner, talk to the pole instructor that you trust and they can relay the message. Hopefully, you go in talking and leading with love rather than accusatory and argumentative, because if you go to people like that, it's probably going to get an argument back, unfortunately. But then, of course, you have those fucking ignorant dumbasses who, even if you come with love, they're like, "Oh, my policies are fine. I don't do it differently for anyone," or they try to give you an excuse of why they are doing it differently. And it shouldn't be like that. It should be equal across the playing field. So all I can say about this is learn. Try to communicate what you see with love. Don't be argumentative until you have to. And as studio owners and studios, let's learn from this as well. Let's lead with love. Obviously, we will lose a couple students because they won't agree with the policy or things. That's normal. But we are not trying to make people feel like they're being treated different. All the rules should be the same for everyone, because they should. So let us move on. Another one is something instructors are suffering with, and I've seen this all the time, and especially in the South, but it does happen up here in New England as well. But not having affordable or even a free practice time for teachers to prepare their content for their classes. This is awful. And I understand if you're a new studio, it might be harder to give this free time, but you should be able to give a discounted time for your instructors at least. They are coming in teaching. They need to create this fun content in order to keep the students and dancers not only entertained but learning and growing. And it's not fair that they have to pay extra money to practice that and make that content, and then come in and then teach it. I've also heard some of you beautiful instructors are not getting paid for teaching. And the way you're getting paid is with free studio time, which, in one side, okay, I understand you're getting free studio time, but no, you are an independent contractor. You should be getting paid. You should be negotiating what you're getting paid, what you're teaching, when you're teaching. Obviously, with some limitations, because some studios cannot have classes every hour of the day. But yeah, if you're not getting paid to be a teacher, it is time to either talk to your owner, or it's time to do your own thing or go to another studio, because you should be getting paid. Yeah, it's nice to have free practice time, but yeah, you're sharing your art, you're sharing your knowledge, and you should be getting paid for it. And if your studio does not offer you free practice time or discounted time, maybe it's time to talk to them about it. And if they don't let up, maybe it's time to find a studio that does. I know, for an example, with Mandy and the Pole on the Wall, it took years. At first, she was able to offer us discounts, which was awesome. But it wasn't until the studio got bigger, we got more students, more consistent classes where she was able to really give it to us for free and along give us a discount for the classes we take. So not only do we get free practice time if the instructor allows, obviously, but we get 50% discount on all our classes and workshops. So all those benefits are incredible, but it did take her time. So if this is the place you are at with your studio, it's taking you time. I understand that you will grow if you stay consistent, but do offer some kind of incentive to motivate your teachers to come in, practice, get this content, make them feel valued, make them feel like they're getting an added benefit for being a teacher, not just being a student teaching a class. And I thank Mandy for that. It took many years to be able to do this, but this was always her goal to do it, and she was finally able to do it. So good for you. If you have any questions, I'm sure she would love to answer them. So definitely feel free to reach out. And if you're an instructor experiencing this, talk to your studio owner, talk to them about getting some free time or discounted time to create your content, and outline the benefits for not only you but for the students, to come prepared to be able to experiment with different content and things like that. And if they still don't let up for whatever reason, maybe it's time for you to move on or find ways to help them be able to achieve that goal if they are willing to try but they just don't know how to. Maybe you can work hand on hand with them. And then there are some who aren't willing to try. That's probably your sign that it is time to go. Alrighty, so enough about that spiel. Let's move on to the next one. And the next one is monthly memberships with a use it or lose it policy for class credits. But then classes often get canceled due to low registration. Ugh. This is tough, and I have seen this in a few studios where people pay these outrageous fees for memberships to get unlimited or whatever, but then they only have a month, 2 months, 3 months to use them. But within that 1 month, 2 month, 3 month to use them, every class that they signed up for was canceled. So they pretty much lost their classes that they were trying to sign up for, and they lost money for an unlimited or X amount of classes and weren't, how do you say, not reimbursed, but given that credit back or given more time to use the credit that was canceled. This should not be happening. I'm sure this is kind of like stealing. You are stealing from your Patreons and your clients and your dancers, and you need to find a way to make it right. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It is not easy. Monthly memberships is something that all studios struggle with, but there is a way to find a balance that they don't use it or without this use it or lose it class credit, especially if the classes are being canceled. You have to take the time to figure out what is going on and how you can rectify it. Yeah, classes are going to get canceled, but how do you make sure that the dancers who are paying this amount of money are not losing out on what they're paying for? It's hard. It is not easy. I'm not saying any of this is easy. I do not want to be a studio owner for many of these things that are coming up. And kudos to you who have to deal with this and who have found ways to fix it and rectify it. And to those of you who didn't even know this is happening, hopefully your dancers feel comfortable enough to talk to you about it. And those of you who do know it's happening and aren't fixing it, maybe it is time to fix it, or you're going to start losing a lot of students or not filling these monthly membership quota or getting people to sign up for them. Because I know I'd be pissed if I pay for X amount of classes, but then every class I sign up for is canceled and then my pass is gone. Well, why did I pay this? It's not fair. It's not right. And maybe you just don't know about it. I'm playing devil's advocate. Maybe you just don't know about it. Or, people never talk to you about it, or you just don't even realize because the studio owner is so fucking busy with outside life and studio life. But if you do know about it and if people have brought it up to you and you're not fixing it, then that's an issue. Alrighty, so let us move on to what's next. Next is owners having favorite instructors. I will add to this. Owners having favorite instructors and letting everybody know about it. It is okay for people to have favorite instructors. We all have favorite Pets, we all, even if you don't say it, have a favorite child. Yeah, you do secretly. It is okay to have a favorite instructor. Where it's not always okay is where you are announcing or letting everybody know in some way that they are your favorite instructor. Maybe you treat them differently. Maybe they don't have to follow the same rules as every other instructor, which is BS. Or maybe you're saying, "Oh, I love this instructor all the time. They're my favorite." How you should not be using words like that, unfortunately, because you want your instructors to all feel loved and welcome and like they all have something to offer, because they all do. Most of them. Some try to get into it for money and have no background in teaching or certifications, and they could hurt students, but that's the rare few. You want to make sure all your instructors are welcomed and feel like they offer something to the community, and want them to feel like the rules go the same across the board. It's very important. It's if you want to hang out with your favorite instructor outside, that's okay. Be mindful. Don't let other people feel like shit. But when it's in the studio setting, it's business. Like, they're not your boo boo. They are not your best friend. They are your instructor, and you are the studio owner. And you see this even outside the studios, where and with managers, this is assistant managers becoming friends with co-workers, and they get special treatment. We see it in the real world every day. Unfortunately, it's happening in the studios. So let's try to change this. Be more mindful of it. Think about it. I'm not saying don't have favorite instructors. Don't hang out with your instructor best friends. Just be more mindful and make sure other people are not feeling like they're not valued, or that they get tougher rules than others. It shouldn't be like that. And let's move on. Owners and studios that don't support instructor growth. I will add to this one too. Owners and studios that don't support instructor or student dancer growth. This goes along the line of gatekeeping, allowing students not to be able to take a certain level class because they can't invert. That's bullshit, because you can get upside down from a Jasmine descent and other ways and still be able to do cool upside down tricks without inverting. So people doing that still is uncalled for and just ridiculous. I understand you might want to be safe, but there are ways to get dancers upside down without inverting, and having them invert condition over and over and over without seeing results is not being safe. You could hurt their bodies, and you're not being mindful of their body type, and maybe they need something different. Not supporting instructor growth, not allowing them ways to get certified, or not allowing them ways to kind of take classes and grow, or telling them, oh, you can't teach this class, you're not qualified, or you can't do this because you're not qualified, this, that, and the other. Well, how the fuck do I get qualified if you're not going to let me do it? You're supposed to be my studio and my studio owner, my studio family. Help me grow. One thing that Mandy has done incredible with, and I know I keep talking about her, but it's because it's the studio I'm at, and I've been there for 5 years almost, and it has changed so much. And just thinking about the changes from where we were to where we're now, it is really nice. We get a lot of incredible benefits as instructors. Some of them being that if we hand in our certification receipts, we will get that reimbursed after completing the certification. Submitting the receipt, we'll get that reimbursed at the end of the year within 6 months. Another one is if we take workshops or outside classes at different studios, hand in those receipts and we'll get reimbursed. Another thing she does amazing with is our benefits of free studio practice time and 50% off of classes and workshops inside the studio. Great way to help your instructors grow. She created a beautiful in-house certification to help students inside grow to start becoming instructors and teaching, which is awesome. Um, yeah, different things like this. I'm not saying these things will work for your studio, but these were clever ideas that took her years to create and learn, and now like we have incredible instructors. We are able to run more classes than we ever have before, and we offer a wider variety of skills and ways to learn because of having these instructors and allowing them to grow. Another thing she's amazing with is self-care incentives. Every month she picks an instructor to give them an extra incentive for self care or just if they need help with anything, which is great. She also allows us to take 1 month off, and in that month we get free student classes so we can just be a student. I need to take advantage of this. I am not good with taking a month off. She has told me you need to take a month off and take advantage of it, but I just love teaching so much. But different things like this are great ways to help support your instructor growth. I'm not saying you have to do it right now, but think about it. You have to find what works for your studio, things that allow you to not lose money, but also make money and keep your instructors and help them grow so they can in turn help your students grow. Because if they can help your students grow, you'll keep students longer and you won't have the issue we mentioned earlier, a 4 week series only taking in new students and then hindering older students' progress. Keep that in mind. It's not only about having your students grow, it's about having your instructors grow and supporting them. And gatekeeping. Why are we gatekeeping? Why are we telling students they cannot do this or whatever because they're not on that level? We should know it is not about levels anymore. It is about body type and the conditioning you have and the work you have put in. I know people who have been conditioning inverts for years but cannot get an invert and maybe never will. But they can get upside down beautifully from a Jasmine descent better than I can, and then they can get into outside leg hang, Scorpios, all sorts of beautiful upside down tricks because they worked diligently and hard on getting upside down from that Jasmine knee hook. So now they could do incredible stuff without even having an invert. And it wasn't because they're not level 3, it's just because for whatever reason their body's not able to do that invert yet. And that is normal. That is okay. We have to be open minded and body positive and learn new ways to teach people and new ways to get people into things safely. So, obviously, always add the conditioning. And the conditioning will work the majority of the time. Maybe they need to not condition inverts and shoulder mounts, but condition Jasmine descents or shoulder mount descent and things like that. We should not be gatekeeping. And competitions, we should not be gatekeeping neither. Based on sex or gender or style, things like that. It's sad that it's happening. Hopefully, it's happening less, but it does happen. I have recently had students who have moved over here from the other side of the country who told me, I love that you taught that Jasmine descent because I was able to get upside down, and every time I wanted to in my old studio, they would never let us because we couldn't invert. It shouldn't be like that. It should not be like that. As long as you are safe, they are safe. You're teaching them the proper body mechanics. There are other ways to get into things without limiting them or saying, oh, you can't do this, you can't move on. Let's stop doing that. What else? What else? Y'all went in. We are already at about 27 minutes for this episode, just talking about toxic traits of studios and studio owners. If you have listened to this or watched this and think of more, feel free to reach out. We'll probably do another episode, a part 2, later on. Ooh, excuse me. But I will end this for y'all. I don't want to take up too much of your time, and unfortunately, I have to get ready for work. So sad. I'd rather be doing this full time if we're going to be honest. But thank y'all so much for tuning in for this toxic traits of studios and studio owners. And all I can say is remember to lead with love. Try to communicate first. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't go yelling at them saying this needs to happen. Try to be, adult about it. And then if you're getting that pushback or if change is not happening or if they're giving you this, that, whatever reasons why, then it's time for you to maybe, take a stand, fight, either demand that this happens, talk to other people in the studio about it, or it's time for you to move on. And either create a better place that fits your needs and others' needs, or find one that meets your needs. Because it's not always easy to start your own studio. It's not easy at all. So think about it. Studio owners, let's work on some of these things. A lot of it could be unintentional. You might not even realize it until you hear it. And then some of you, yeah, it is intentional. Y'all need to get better. You do not get into studio owner life just to make money. Some of y'all do, but it's gonna bite you in the ass. You're there to create a safe place for people, to help people grow in a beautiful form of fitness and dance. Not make people feel unwanted, unwelcomed, or feel like they're not valued or they can't grow with you. Enough of me spieling on. Let's move on. I gotta get to work, unfortunately. But tune in for next week episode where we will go into part one of Is Poe Political? And this is part one, and it's going to be a short one because it's going to go into kind of my answer for that and what ChatGPT said. I know some of y'all don't like the ChatGPT, and I'm sorry, but I wanted to know what it said, and it brought up some interesting information. And part two, which will air in about 2 months or so, will be your responses on if Poe is political and what do you think and why. And like this episode where I shared your responses from Instagram stories on toxic studio owner traits and studio traits, I'm going to head to Instagram stories for that one for your opinion on is Poe political. Now I did this like 8 months ago, but I jumped the gun and it was too early, so I want to do it again and get more input, especially with the way the world has been in the last year. I have seen some incredible pole dancers create beautiful political stories just to give an artistic interpretation and combat what's going on artistically. So stay tuned for part one next week. It'll be a quick episode to get us ready and get the juices flowing for you to answer the Instagram stories for part two. Alrighty, y'all. Y'all have a beautiful week. Thank you so much for either listening or watching this on YouTube. And of course, don't forget our audience feedback form. If you want to see something, want to hear something, want to be part of it in some way, fill out that audience feedback form. It is in the link tree, in the comments, in the notes, or on social media in our link in bio. Let me know how I could do better, what we could do. Maybe I need to just stop the podcast altogether. But let me know. It's so important. I'm so glad we started this. And of course, check out our apparel and accessory line. More designs coming every week. Maybe you have a design idea you want to share. Let me know. And if you want to be interviewed, fill out that interview form. We will interview all of you who fill it out. But it is a nice place to streamline and kind of get some background information on you before we schedule that interview and get the ball rolling. Have some fun stuff coming up, so I hope y'all enjoy. Have a beautiful week. Have a beautiful weekend. Y'all are amazing. Love y'all to pieces. And don't forget, follow Friday, which comes tomorrow, and Monday Motivation. Just breathe, enjoy, and remember, just fly and dance. Love y'all. Bye, lovelies. This is Chris Rivers, aka the Poe Engineer, signing out of another beautiful episode of the Poe on the Call. Thank you.